Joining the show today is one of us by way of Austin, Minnesota, playing his college hockey at St. Cloud State University and splitting the past 23 seasons of coaching between the Huskies and your Minnesota Golden Gophers, Bob Motzko. Appreciate you jumping on, Bob.
All right. Thanks for having me.
We start with a couple looser questions with everyone, and some of your players have had some interesting responses to this first one, but it's a bit of a Rorschach test. When you look at the Minnesota Wild logo, what do you make of it? What is it?
So we're going right to pro hockey on the first one. Well, you know, I love the Wild. I love the fact, you know, they came back to Minnesota. I'm a purist with the old North Stars. So it was hard for some of us that, you know, that were really into it to make the switch. And that's why I love when they've got when the Wild go to that throwback uniform, the green and gold. I think it's awesome. But you know, it's supposed to be the Wild in there somewhere. I try to find it. It's a little different, but I just love the fact they're back in our state.
That's fair. And I mean, you being a purist, do you get bothered at all seeing the Wild logo in those colors instead of the North Star logo?
Yeah, we're over it now. You know, we're over it. That's why when they came back to that uniform, you know, when they popped it out a few years ago, it was wow. It had that wow moment for a lot of us that and they still bring it out. I know they have the last couple of years at times, and I love it.
Well, as you probably heard or saw, like our podcast is called Fellowship of the Rink, a stick tap to Lord of the Rings. We're both big fans of the movie. I wasn't sure if you ever seen the movies, or if you haven't seen the movies, do you have kind of like a nerd itch, like a book series you read, a TV show you love? Do you collect things? Or is there anything that's kind of like something that kind of off the beaten path that some of your passions besides obviously hockey and everything?
Well, I have not watched that. So sorry, guys, that I'm not on top of that one. I keep things kind of simple. I mean, like I get into like I love Yellowstone, but I was probably 3 seasons late when I got into it, and I've been madder than a hornet that we got to wait. You know, that they've kept us hanging to finish the 5th season, and it's coming in November. And I did go out to Montana this year. So I was on my bucket list. So I crossed that off and got to do some fly fishing. So, you know, and I do get addicted to, you know, the 30 for 30, you know, sports documentaries. Actually, I watched the one last night on Parcells and Belichick. I actually watched it again last night, and, that's it. And I still watch reruns of Friends all the time. I've seen every episode, you know, 500 times. But I like 30-minute sitcoms. It shuts my brain down. I can just laugh.
Absolutely. You need to get back and relax, you know, because the season's so long. And especially for the Gophers, you usually see you guys in the Frozen Four playing for a national championship, you know, made a run in the playoffs last year too. Always expectations are very high for you guys. Like, what's your kind of feel? Every team has a different personality, a different feel to it. What's your read on this group where you have some guys that are coming back with Snuggeruds, but you lost a lot of like 50-year guys that have been kind of heart and soul players for your team? Like, how do you see the personality changing with all the different?
You know, I got to answer this in a couple of ways. We did lose some heart and soul guys that had been with us, you know, and we're so critical to what we had gone through in our last few years, and just great teammates and great Gophers. And yet college sports, you know, you turn the page, and we got a completely different feel about our group. Now, you're also doing this show when we've been, you know, we're only 4 hours a week, and so we've been on the ice now 6 hours. So you know, part of it's on the eyeball test, and part of it is, you know, we know it was returning, and we see the new guys that we've added in. So I want to soften my comments, because I'd like to see us play a couple games before I really tell you. But we got good size. We got depth in our lineup. And you could even see it this summer. The guys that were around this summer, and most everybody spent a little time here. We kind of got a swagger back in our training. We got a swagger back in our work, in our work ethic, and our grind. And just in the very short snapshot of being on the ice, the depth is at an extremely high level. Size and speed. There are a lot of good things that we like about this hockey team, with the returning players and then the mixture of our new guys and a couple of guys out of the transfer portal. So we're very optimistic. But once again, I'd like to see us play a couple times to really give you a feel of this. So that's the coach in me.
That's reasonable. But what can you tell us about some of the incoming freshmen, at least from the first 6 hours of skating?
Well, you got Eric Paulson comes in. Here's what's different with us this year. Eric Paulson comes in, who's an older freshman, had a terrific year in Dubuque last year. Beckett Hendrickson, after coming out of the U.S. program, also ended up spent some time in Sioux Falls, and he got traded to Dubuque, and they were line mates a lot of toward the back half. And really, that year in the USHL, I can't tell you how it helped Beckett, prepare for this. Zemer, Brody he's just a warrior, and he's got that DNA makeup in his game. The coaches that he had in the U.S. development program, and what we watched, he's just and how they've handed him off and delivered him, it's all there. Like he's much more physical and far advanced in his compete level than a true freshman normally would be. So and then we got two defensemen that are coming in. Gruba, another one. Gruba played 2 years in Fargo, and Whipple was in the U.S. development program, so he's well schooled. And then August Falloon was a 3-year player for Tri-City. There's depth in size and I'm always in talent in that group, but more important, experience. Great experience with those guys that we brought in. Then Matthew Woods, a transfer in, as it comes in, is still a young player, but as a junior, he's got 2 years of college experience. And then Liam Soulier from Penn State is a 5th-year player. We've kind of added. We don't look young. Like none of those guys look young. They look like they're fitting in right from day one at a high level, and that we're really excited about that group.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the importance of the USHL season for a guy like Beckett Hendrickson. We had the unexpected departure of Logan Cooley last summer, and I don't know how tough of a decision it was, but how did you come to the conclusion that Jimmy Clark was going to be the guy to step in and fill those shoes? And how do you think he did?
Well, he did great. And now we're talking on some sophomores and Logan made the decision late in the summer, and all these athletes are under such tremendous, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but and he made the decision that he really felt was best in his career. And of course we support it. It was great that we had him for the 1 year. Wish we would have had him for 2, but it didn't work out. But we had to add a player late in the summer, and we'd gone out and followed Jimmy through his year in Green Bay. And he had a terrific year in Green Bay, and the benefit from him last year, he had some freshmen in him last year as a true freshman coming in, but he looks completely different this year. He looks like a completely new player, but the experiences he gone through last year, with Green Bay, with being with our program last year and playing, he looks like a brand new player. He just, the confidence that in great summer in the weight room, and with a handful of our guys, we're going to see the benefit from him from what happened with him last year. He's going to have a much different role with us this year, impactful in our lineup.
Yeah, and another guy that's going to have a big impact. You already mentioned transfer portal. I don't know if you were a fan of the transfer portal before, but you got to be now landing a guy like Matthew Wood. Where do you see him slotting into the group? Like, how do you see him fitting in coming fresh?
Well, I'll get on Matthew, but right now that's probably how we put the puzzle together with our depth. It's going to take us some time to do that. And a lot of times, trial and error, try lines, see what fits together, play a handful of games, juggle some things up. And we're going to figure that out. And that's what we have to do. We have to put this puzzle piece together. And however we choose to start it, I have a feeling a month from now, it's going to look different, but they're going to dictate how that goes together. But, was able to see, Matthew on film. Obviously, we got reports on him, but now we've been on the ice with him, and every day he's taking a step forward and getting more confident and comfortable. That's probably a better word to use because you come into the environment, but he's a big, strong athlete, and he takes everything to the hole. You can see that he's got offense in his game. And if he continues to just in the 2 weeks we've been going at it, if he continues to grow like we've been watching, he's got the chance to be just a tremendous player for us.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see him this year for sure. And there's been a bit of online speculation here, Bob, and I don't know if there's been anything official yet, but what is Rhett Pitlick's status with the team?
Rhett's been working through, his people and pro hockey's been a big part of what, he's wanted to do and where he wants to go. And we've given him all the space that he needs to make those decisions. And he's working through that.
Sure. Fair. And you brought in a Canadian, which I know for a long time wasn't the move for the Gophers. Was that just like purely to replace the quota being filled by Justen Close? And just talk about trying to replace a guy like Justen Close. It's a tough, tall order.
I know. Well, Lou Nanne was from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, is one of the greatest Gophers of all time. So there
we go.
Murray Williamson, another All-American that played here years and years ago, and Jack LaFontaine. So there is a history of Canadians being here that goes back before I was even born. So, our state does a great job of developing talent, but we kind of got a run right now of some Canadian goaltenders, and Nathan Airy, also from Western Canada that's back this year, and we're going to see a lot more of him. But that's what, and we got a ton of faith in Nathan Airy. But he was injured until Christmas last year. We think he's got a just big time upside as a goaltender. And then that's why we went into the portal, like to give us a little experience back there. And Liam is he's just a terrific young man. And he's got experience. He's played over 100 college games. He's won in every building in our conference. He's got 50 wins in college hockey. He's got over 100 junior games behind, and completely was full disclosure when we were talking with Liam about the situation here. And he kind of recruited us, was kind of cool in knowing the situation that we had. And he's fitting in great with the guys, and he's a good goaltender. He looks poised in there like an old wily veteran. And this is going to be something new for all of us. And with this, I still think the transfer portal is new. It's something that it kind of got thrown upon all of college athletics. Of course, you see it far greater in football and basketball than you do in hockey. And it's leaking into hockey now. And, it's just part of the world. It's not a negative. It's just, you've got to manage it. And I think that it's going to take a handful of years. I'm kind of going off script a bit. I think it's going to take a handful of years for all of us when I say all of us, programs, whether you're football, hockey, or tennis, and also for athletes and families to figure out if it's the right thing to do. And we're all collecting data on it, and the arrow is going to point in a direction. And a handful of years from now, I think we're all going to be. It's going to be, sometimes right now it's clear as mud, but in a handful of years, I think there is a way to use it to the benefit both the student athlete and their experience, and then also with our individual teams that we're coaching. And I think this, like Liam Soulier, is a great example that this might be a tremendous fit for us.
Yeah.
You're kind of probably a traditionalist too, going back in the day, coaching, guys staying 3-4 years, especially some of the teams you coached for the championship teams with the Gophers. We had Leopold and we've had Paul Martin on the podcast as well. What are some of your more vivid memories of those teams? Obviously a team that's kind of the standard for a lot of the guys that you bring in recruit. Look back on favorite memories of the characters and just the moments that you had there with those teams.
Back when you're asking back when I was an assistant here.
Yeah.
Well, I was pretty fortunate when in 2002 I was a rookie coach here. They hired me, so I jumped on board a pretty good. They were ready to go. What I remembered about that team was like. You start coaching, and I mean, we're going back, a handful of years now, obviously. Like, this is really a good hockey team. Like, I was a fresh set of eyes, and I go, oh my goodness sakes. Like, that defensive core with Paul and Leo and Ballard and DeMarkey and Judd Stevens and Nick Ainge. I think there was just a stud defensive core with high-end players, and Hauser and net. So you were in every game with a D-core like that. In Minnesota, I think that's been one of our strengths in our state, and one of our strengths at the University of Minnesota, have D-cores that are outstanding. And then Johnny Pohl and Tafe and Riddle up front, and Kowalska, and that first year. And I'm going to miss some names, but it had ingredients. Grant Patolny, it had ingredients, but we had to learn to believe in. That team had to learn to believe in itself that because we started off great, couple kinks, in the middle of the year, but I know we had referenced like Boston College, and I'm going to be off on something. They'd kind of gone to 3 or 4 straight Frozen Fours without winning, and then I think they finally popped through, or right after that it popped through, and they had gone 50 years without a national title, and so that was kind of the word. Sometimes teams have to get there to learn, and maybe that's us right now. The teams have to learn through their losses how to be successful in the tournament, and that was one of the messages that our coaching said. Let's not get there and have to learn. This team is ready to do it now, and they had characters on that team too. They had some, real tough-nosed, hard characters that I think willed that team never to believe in itself and get it done. And, of course, talent was there. And it was just an enjoyable ride. And then it carried through. It took a completely different team the next year. And that's when Vanek came in, to join that group the next year. And that team found itself winning in a completely different way. So it was pretty lucky that I came in at the right time. Because those awful lot of talent on those teams with great character and great leadership.
The blue line's been a staple for the program a long time. One of the guys that Wild fans know well now is Brock Faber, and you talked about him a lot the last couple of years. I was there at the Frozen Four with you a couple of years ago and seeing up close. Why do you think he's made that transition to the NHL so seamlessly? I mean, people say the NHL takes 200 games for a defenseman to find their footing, and he came in there off the bat and was pretty steady. From him makes him a guy who's ready for the NHL, and not just ready, but a really, really good defenseman.
Yeah, almost star defense. It took him 2 games to acclimate. One, and I'm always that defensive core. Every time, people want to talk about Faber a lot here because he's with the Wild, but then how do you not say Jackson Lacombe and Johnson and that entire D-core was outstanding. We had 2 years ago, and we had some awful good young defensemen who are now juniors for us that are going to help carry the mail. But Brock, world-class defender, and he has been a world-class athlete. So defending for him is like breathing air for us. It just comes natural to him. It's so he knows he's good at it and he's confident in it. So there's immediately he can step in and do that. And he did it in the U.S. development program. He did it for us. And of course he's doing it with the Wild. But the biggest thing about Brock is his heart and his character. And he put every ounce of his heart and soul into being a Gopher and this program and his team and the team that he led. And we knew it from the staff, but more important, his teammates knew it. And I think the Wild are seeing that he just has that character, that he has that it factor as an athlete, and it's awful special. And we were fortunate to have it, and the Wild have it now, and they know exactly what, it's kind of surprised when, like I said, we always get our athletes and they don't come with, instruction manuals. But when they have that it factor and they show up on your doorstep, it's different. And he's got that.
Now we just need him to kick over some money for those NIL dollars that you guys need, right?
Go ahead.
Sorry, we got 2 questions left here, Bob, and we'll let you get out of here. First one, asking for a friend. What are the do's and don'ts for media members at a Bob Motzko post-game presser?
I don't have any do's and don'ts. No, I wouldn't have any do's and don'ts. And sometimes maybe I get a little ornery, but that's
just Jess.
You know what? I mean, think of it. Sports is emotional. The game is over, and I spent when the game is over, on average, I spend 30 seconds in the locker room because I really think whether if you're upset about something, it doesn't do any good to talk about it right after the game because they are too. Your athletes are as well. And if you're really excited, you can throw around some high fives and then you get out of the room. But your best messages are used more for Monday. And though we coaches have to then walk in front of, and it comes with the territory, you have to. And so there, and I've been around a while now. I've been doing this for a while. So no do's and don'ts on for most of it, I hope that I'm going to tell you exactly how I saw it and just try to be honest. And I try to add a little humor and fun to it when I can, to make it personable for the listeners. And that's who's listening to your questions, and so you hope that you can actually shed some light that is favorable to your student athletes, to your program, your team. And I rarely am critical because these are young kids and young men, and Monday we'll work it out if we've got some issues after the weekend.
Fair enough. All right, last one here then, Bob. We've got our Waggle golf question. Everybody go to getyourwaggleon.com. Throw in promo code SP10. Take 10% off your entire order. We've had a wide range of answers here, but your dream golf outing, who is the foursome that you are assembling? And this could be, athlete, celebrity, dead, alive, fictional. We've had a full range. So anything you want to throw.
Well, Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have some fun, like Monday Night Football. Now I got to watch the Manning. I'm addicted to, so I'm sorry, Eli, but I want Peyton Manning in it because I think I love his sense of humor and how he does it. So we're at 2. I spent some time this summer for the first time where I got to spend an hour with Neil Broughton, and one of the great Gophers and came through my era, and I think one of the greatest hockey players ever come out of Minnesota. So I'll put Neil in that group because I'm sure he would enjoy being with those 2 guys.
And don't want to stop you, Bob, but I imagine you want to be one of the 4 too, right?
I'm gonna caddy.
Oh, okay. Well, then give us a 4th.
If anybody has ever seen me golf, it's not pretty. But I'll be all right. I'll be the 4th in that group.
I mean, we saw you cruising around out there for the alumni event.
You know, yeah, and it wasn't pretty, trust me. But there.
Well, thanks so much for joining us as the start of the camp gets going. I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime during the season when you have more than 6 hours to get a better feel for the group you have. But thanks, Bob, for being on, and looking forward to seeing you at the rink.
Okay, thank you.